in relation to Chris Anderson's age by comparison to some of the young replacements. Well, the Newtown obstacles are simply in that the Jets seem to have trouble regaining that consistency which took them to the Premiership Grand Final last year. It's a strong team tonight, a team that is fresh from their annihilation of Illawarra last weekend by 51 points to 0, but it's also a team that has never reached a cup final. There's the full Newtown readout, and I'm advised there could be even a further change to that, with Les Mara on the reserve bench, and John Strandon will play on the wing, with Michael Ryan and Michael Pobji being the centres. However, Newtown, again tonight, obviously, will be relying on that player who seems to be in and out, if you like a fiddler's elbow. Their half-back and captain, Ken Wilson, is back there tonight. Tonight, our guest analyst, by the way, joining Keith Barnes in the quarter-time breaks, is the illustrious Frank Hyde. And at half-time, I'll be talking to Frank about some highlights of a career that has virtually spanned the life of rugby league, almost, broadcasting and playing and coaching in the wonderful game of rugby league. After this break, we'll be back for the kick-off between Canterbury, Bankstown and Newtown for the KB Cup match for tonight. Is John Gosha, reinstalled as Sydney's #1 referee in what some are calling now the passing parade. Newtown running from left to right, and a sea of blue and white there tonight, with two sides that, from a colour point of view, don't necessarily make up for good television, but there's certainly a heap of class out there, even allowing for the replacements in both sides. So if you're a Canterbury fan and you've got some research to do on your players, then so too have we, as Baker gets a kick in, came off the hand of a Newtown man, and it's been kicked out towards the flank where it's going to be a knock-on back where the original knock-on took place, and that is 12 metres on the Canterbury Bankstown side of the halfway. So the opening 60 seconds, halfback for Canterbury is a youngster called Chris Hughes, who's the eldest of 9 boys in a family that hails from Dubbo. He's a med student. As Newtown win the first scrum, 6 for them is Dean Lance, who you'll find to be a very solid defensive player in particular. Michael Pobji playing in jump of 5. Mel Graham was the player who just took it first man off the ruck. So Newtown in the centre of the ground on the Canterbury Bankstown 22 line. Wayne Newling is playing in number 12 as per normal. Ken Wilson switching it, but Dean Lance has put it down, and referee goes to resort at a knock-on. First or second scrum of the match. First won by Newtown. Chris Hughes, no relation to the Hughes family, but being the elder of 9 brothers, it seems that there's another flood of Hughes boys heading for Canterbury Bankstown. Swung to the ground as the Canterbury hooker Ian Lloyd. Mark Hughes. That's Craig Madsen. Talented player. Chris Hughes, Baker. 13 for Canterbury is Dennis Donahue, the son of the former top rabbit. Mark Hughes, and that's good defence by the Jets. That's their caper. Contain their opponents, if possible, inside the 22. Standing up flat. It's a negative type of football, that the way some people see it, but it's proven to be a winner for Warren Ryan and this group of footballers he has under him. Phil Sigsworth, a man who must be contained. Chris Anderson making the tackle. 11 for them is Steve Bowden. 12 metres out from the line. Nothing at the moment. Ken Wilson, Dean Lance. I guess with a group of youngsters like Canterbury has on their side tonight, they're going to get plenty of enthusiasm That's normally the case. Now here's Wilson. O'Grady put down, and Canterbury have got it through Chris Anderson, just inside the 22. I don't think there's any doubt that there'll be a flood of enthusiasm, Keith, in this Canterbury side.
Yeah, certainly they got up very quickly then to cover a dangerous situation, because if Wilson had looped a pass over the top there, Newtown had 2 or 3 players overlap, but I can't see Canterbury containing this Newtown side really. They're particularly strong in the forwards, and Warren Ryan has them firing pretty well. As you said, they're a negative side, particularly in defence. They don't give their opponents very much yardage in which to work the ball, and I should imagine that Canterbury will be looking to try and play the game across the field and use the backs that they have, but I think they're going to find it very difficult.
Pittman turning it down for Stephen Blythe to unload quickly. It's gone through 3 sets of hands out to the fullback Sigsworth, who eventually couldn't take the pass from the replacement John Strandon. That change that we preempted has in fact occurred. With John Strandon playing on the left wing, Les Mara is on the bench. Knock on there. Ngosha didn't see it. Baker trying to clear for Canterbury. That's the 3rd time he's tried to do it. I doubt that the kick has been the one that Neil Baker's looking for. It certainly hasn't got the power of a Brentnell. Bowden now. Here's Wilson. 13 is Kelly. Mullen doing the tackling for Canterbury. Wilson again, and now Steve Blythe. This is Lance. And this is the last tackle coming up now for the Jets. Wilson. O'Grady. A break for Newtown inside the 22-way line, but the tackler is Chris Hughes, the halfback across in cover. And so another scrum to go down, and again deep into Canterbury territory on the 22 line. So here's Newtown. If we can take a wider shot of that, I'll give you an example of how negative they are, really. Look at that, a flat back line, and the scrum is going down on the Canterbury 22. So they obviously feel that one of 2 things is going to occur. The Canterbury side with the halfback feeding is going to more than likely win the scrum, and so they put down a flat back line even when the scrum went down in, for them, an attacking position. So they leave nothing to chance, do they, the Blues? Hughes. And to my director, thanks for that quick work there. Sometimes a wide shot shows the picture much better than the close-ups that I think sometimes we all too often use. Dennis Donahue now, big lump of a lad. He'd almost look down at his father, I think. That's how big he is. Mark Hughes off the left foot, looking for the touchline. Beautifully taken by Sigsworth. That was a real Derek Randall catch. 10 metres out from the 22, and still the scoreline is 0-0. Bowden. Big and tough, but they don't run without legs.
Oh, man.
Wilson. Pittman's put it down. That must have been a good tackle by Mark Hughes, it was, the tackler. Hit him low and hard. Ball went spilling out. Chris Hughes. This is the 5/8 Baker. He himself was only in his 2nd year with Canterbury. This is Frico. Tidied up by Pobji. Steve Want. Baker will probably fall into position to clear with a kick again. That's a better kick, a torpedo punt with a hell of a lot more oomph about it. So here's Sigsworth with plenty of room to gallop in. And again, this halfback for Canterbury, Chris Hughes, does the main body of the tackling around the legs. Lance. That's Mal Graham. 9 metres, Newtown side of halfway, and unless I'm badly mistaken, this is the first time they've been in their own territory. Strandon. Ken Wilson. Lance. That's Blythe. Nine gone. First quarter. Kelly. Bowden. Frico around the legs. And Baker over the top. Last one for Newtown now. Wilson. There goes that normally deadly kick for touch, but Chris Anderson has got it covered. Oh, he's thrown the ball back in field. That's no knock on. That's good quick thinking by Chris Anderson. He realised that he'd lost his balance and he was going to take it into touch. He must have also realised that he had plenty of time to do what he did. It could have proved fatal, of course, had he not known where the oncoming defence was, or the oncoming attack in that case. A big dummy by Peter Mortimer. It's Mullen. Chip by Baker, regathered beautifully by Craig Madsen. That's a forward pass, I thought, on the inside to Baker. Sigsworth has it for Newtown. Play on the halfway mark, but that was a variation by Neil Baker. He's been putting the big kicks in. He just changed things around, and it almost paid off as Michael Pittman takes it up. So again, Canterbury in the straight line defence. They've grown accustomed to for the first 10 minutes of this match almost. Wilson switching it. Lance, Sigsworth, Lance, and Hughes is around the legs, the halfback, with Lloyd over the top. Kelly. A sustained first 11 minutes for Newtown in attack. The bomb now, they've decided to go over the top. Tony Armstrong, safe as a bank. Beautiful take. I'm just wondering, Keith, whether that old theory might apply here. A number of times you see a side attack for a long period, and then suddenly, out of the blue, the defensive side gets the break and grabs first points.
Yes, well, Canterbury had an opportunity there, didn't they, with that clever chip over the top by Baker. I think they're going to find it extremely difficult to penetrate this Newtown defence. We know that they're a fine defensive outfit, and they're certainly showing that in the opening 11 minutes of this game. They're also attacking very well too, through the constant switching of play from their halfback Kenny Wilson, and they are giving themselves a lot of depth in attack, particularly from rucks when they have possession. So they are prepared to attack in situations like that. The player that I'm most interested in is Sigsworth. We know that he's such a dangerous attacking player and a real great player for Newtown, and his form has been a little bit topsy-turvy this year.
So he's ruled that Dean Lance lost the ball, and this scrum is going down 7 metres inside the 22-way line. Fifth scrum of the match. 2-2 at the moment. Now 3-2 as Sigsworth slides over for the first try. The man we were just listening Keith Barnes talk about. And after some solid defence by Canterbury, a try would have to come in what appears quite a simple manner. First man off the scrum base, and Sigsworth sliding up the side of the scrum to go in and score.
Yes, well, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? Sigsworth was able to get away from Armstrong's tackle, and of course they were in a straight line, and once he'd beaten the one particular player, the try was certainly on. Sigsworth, as I said earlier, a great attacking player for the Newtown side, and if he is in form, it's a tremendous boost to Newtown's prospects, not only this evening, but throughout the premiership. Kenny Wilson, of course, a mammoth point getter for this Newtown side, had a field day on Saturday, notching up 10 goals, a try, I think, and a field goal for a personal tally of some 24 points, and well, the situation is could be made to order for him to string up another big total this evening.
Interesting to note that Ken Wilson has scored a total of 713 points for Newtown, of which only 98 as he converts that try scored by Sigsworth, and Newtown lead 5-0. Sigsworth now. Bowden. Mike Ryan turning it back for Michael Pittman. Armstrong. Chris Hughes. Baker. Craig Madsen. 98 first grade games for Ken Wilson. I was just trying to decipher what the statistic in front of me was. 98 first grade games for a total of 713 points. Sigsworth now. O'Grady. Wilson. Blythe. Newtown 5. Canterbury yet to score. 4 minutes of the first quarter to go. And you could be forgiven for thinking this match was being played in only one half of the football field, because that's basically where it's all been the first 20 minutes. Scrums 3-2 to Newtown. No penalties in the match at this stage. The cross-kick bomb from Wilson, testing Tony Armstrong, who was beaten in defence. And that could well be a try. It's not, though, says referee Gosha. And he's ordering a 22 place kick restart, indicating that it came off the hand of Steve Bowden. Can we have a look at it? Here it is, the bomb, a high one. Armstrong, he didn't really know where it was, and Bowden lunged at it, but it's gone over the dead ball line. So it's Canterbury with the ball, and put down by them, so that's reinforced the Newtown stranglehold on the first 20 minutes. Bowden. Ken Wilson. Mike Pittman. O'Grady. Wilson, the switch for Lance. Here's Bowden again. Sigsworth's chip over the top. Armstrong coming away with it. Baker. Mullen. So it'll be a knock-on against Armstrong. Mark Hughes trying chip over the top. Craig Madsen coming from the field of play. I think he may have dislocated a thumb. May have just popped out. They'll try and put it back in. or have him replaced. Dean Lance tackled just out from the quarter. Here's Wilson, Sigsworth, Graham. Painful exercise going on down there for that youngster, Craig Madsen. But if the doctor doesn't think he can do it, he's going to have to be replaced. In fact, I'm sure he is. Newtown still attacking. Wilson, Blythe. Glass for Newtown. Wilson with a well-aimed chip, but Armstrong there, saving the day again for Canterbury. He's had a checkered first quarter, Tony Armstrong. He missed that vital tackle on Phil Sigsworth. Didn't know much about a bomb that we saw just a minute or so back. But then he's taken a couple of other bombs very safely and made a couple of good tackles into the bargain. So he's had a fairly rocky road in the first 20. 5-0 to Newtown. Quarter time break is coming up, during which Keith Barnes will be talking with Frank Hyde. That's John Strandon going back with it. Canterbury's replacement is John Kasparian. As the siren signals out the first 20, the bomb goes up from O'Grady. Armstrong takes it safely, takes the tackle of Sigsworth, and Newtown lead 5-0 after 20 minutes. Coming up now for the start of the second quarter. Newtown grabbing a 5-0 lead in the first 20 minutes. And when you think about the territorial advantage they had, plus a 4-2 scrum possession victory, they probably would have been hoping to be further in front. It was an interesting first 20 minutes in that it's the only 20 minutes of football I can remember in 9 years of doing cup football devoid of a penalty. In fact, I can't remember a rugby league game ever that I've done anyway. And I'm looking at Ray O'Donnell from the Referees Appointments Board, who keeps our officials' penalty counts. And I can't see anybody suggesting that they've watched 20 minutes of league without a penalty. But that's what happened in the first 20 minutes of this match between Newtown and Canterbury tonight. Hughes, Baker. Oh, long ball. Oh, there's a chance here for Newtown, but not now. Steve Wander's back there, and he's not gone in goal, so you can see that Newtown have gone probably very close to scoring a try. Mal Graham was the man who went up very quickly, forcing Dennis Frico into trouble. And then Mike Ryan was there. He could have well scored a try because Steve Want made that mistake in goal. So here's the line dropout now for Baker, who's getting plenty of kicking practice tonight. Sigsworth to take it back, the try scorer. Hasn't had a top year, as Keith said, but in his defence, he's been carrying a couple of nagging injuries, Phil Sigsworth. Steve Blythe. So looking at that penalty count, which is 0-0, you could in fact be watching 26 perfect footballers. Lance, Sigsworth forming up with the back line. Ryan, a quick switch of the pass out to Pobji. Last tackle for the Jets. Wilson, cross kick bomb. Dean Lance is offside. Put that down for the record. Well, that should be a penalty to Canterbury. It should be a penalty to Canterbury and not a line dropout. And I'm not for one moment bagging John Gosher, but I watched Lance in particular in relation to Ken Wilson, and Lance was inside the 22 line. Wilson, there it is there. You saw it yourself. Lance was just out from the 22 line and Wilson was well back from it. So Lance was offside, and it should have been a penalty, not a line dropout for Canterbury. And now you're seeing justice being done as Sigsworth knocks on and a scrum to go down just on the Newtown side of halfway.
Well, I wasn't watching Lance. I didn't take my eyes off Armstrong, the Canterbury fullback, and he certainly didn't take his eyes off the ball, and he looked particularly safe going up for that one. And he was under a lot of pressure, and he's a promising player. And certainly those high bombs don't worry him. That's not to say, of course, that he's not going to drop them, but they certainly don't appear to cause him too much trouble.
Kelly now. Craig Madsen, bad news, suspected broken arm.
Oh, that is bad news, isn't it? Canterbury, they've run into a string of injury problems, and they've copped it for a couple of years, really, haven't they? And he's a very promising young player, Madsen.
So the knock-on made by Newtown, and even then Canterbury couldn't get a touch of possession. Dived on very quickly by Lance, and a scrum. This boy Chris Hughes, I started telling you a story about him being the eldest of 9 boys from Dubbo. Apparently they're all academically brilliant. He is a med student, and 4 of his brothers apparently have duxed Dubbo High School in various years. But for all of that, the same lad last year, if memory serves me correctly, was serving drinks and foodstuff to the press gallery at Belmore Oval. So he doesn't really care whether he's an academic genius or not. He's out to earn $1 to keep himself and his family alive and looking well. So good luck to him. They say he's a young battler, and he's out there with the ball now. Out to Mark Hughes, no relation. Now Peter Mortimer. So Canterbury must be looking at that halfway line and looking at the pastures beyond it, saying, I wonder, is it greener on the other side of this fence? We may never know. We may never know. .16 for Canterbury is Kasparian. By the way, my apologies to John Strandon, as I was calling him in the first quarter. I've got to say to you, I've never heard of the lad before, but his name is John Standen. We were given it with an R in it, so I can only apologise to John Standen. I guess greater mistakes have been made, but so many newcomers out there, you wouldn't know whether you're calling them right or wrong. Mark Hughes, now Peter Mortimer, 2 of the veterans. Good run by Mortimer. He's a talented player. It's Frico. That's probably just a glimpse of what Canterbury must be hoping to do, is to let the back see it, because in Peter Mortimer and the wingers and the fullback, they've got just as much talent as Newtown, let me tell you. Certainly more speed, I would think. As Kelly calls for attention. That's the prop for Newtown injured, with the scrum about to go down 10 metres on the Newtown side of halfway. Newtown 5, Canterbury no score. 6 minutes gone, second quarter. Don't forget, next Sunday at 8:30, our 3rd edition of 10's World of Rugby League, the regular league program, which contains the Commonwealth Bank Cup plus a replay of the Saturday big game, with a hell of a lot of interviews, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, from our week of rugby league. So Kelly's replaced for Newtown, and Craig Ellis is about to come on. Newtown ball. O'Grady. Oh, that's a knock on by Graham, which is not like him. The Commonwealth Bank Cup match on Sunday morning is the 2nd round cup tie between Bomaderry High of South Sydney and St Pius the 10th College from North Sydney, or from the north of Sydney. Oh, goodness, we're getting particular here now. Sigsworth. Thank you, Ray. That college, St Pius, is from Adamstown in the Newcastle area. I should have known that. Pittman. Tony Armstrong. Back in familiar territory inside his own quarter. You know, you could put the sprinklers on down the other end if you wanted to, Keith.
You're very critical of this Canterbury side. I think they've...
No, I'm not being critical of anybody.
No, you're talking about the game, obviously, and you're 100% correct. They're really doing it tough, and it's a credit to Newtown's defence, of course. They're very, very flat, and Canterbury now are coming onto the ball. They're moving the ball, attempting to create opportunities. They've brought Sigsworth up into a situation where he's looking to cover that little chip over the top. That was a good kick by Baker. They'll obviously create a couple of opportunities, like the one we saw where Mortimer made a bit of a break and looked dangerous. As you said, they've got pace and brilliance in the back, so I just don't know whether they're going to get the opportunity to attack through that back line.
That's right. I've been getting a couple of guys mixed up in this match too. You may not have heard me call Taz Batiri, but he looks very much like Steve Mullen, and I think I've been giving Steve Mullen the credit for a lot of the work that Taz Batiri's been doing. I'd rather make that a public apology than try and cover it up. This is Mullen with it now, number 9. He's the much paler of the two. Frico. He's a light stepper, this boy. Hughes. Ian Lloyd's left it behind. 16 is Casbarian. Chris Hughes, Neil Baker, Peter Mortimer. Well, Newtown have come up with it. And another instance of where Canterbury have put some pressure back on themselves, turning over possession. Ted Glossop, the Canterbury coach, is down there on the sidelines, and I believe is ready to talk with us, and we'll do that in just a moment, as soon as we get that opportunity to talk with the Canterbury coach, who at this time must be pleased with the performance of his side, but at the same time quite worried about the situation the way it is. So now a scrum to go down just inside the Canterbury 22. Ted, can you hear me now?
Yes, Ray.
Did you hear what I said just a few seconds back?
Yes, I'm more worried now we're down the wrong end of the field.
Yes, I was just going to say to you, Ted, that half of Newtown's hasn't been used, really, has it?
No, well, the boys are doing a good job out there. This breeze down here is quite strong.
Is it really?
And it favours the end we're defending, and if we can hang in there and go in at 5-0, I'll be pleased. But at this stage, we've done a lot of tackling, and I think, you know, they've done a good job. I'm just hoping they can hold in this 6 tackles.
Let me just broadcast this, Ted, and keep you there, because there is something I wanted to ask you. As Newtown attack 2 metres out, it's with Dean Lance crabbing across the ground to the advantage of Canterbury, and play is 10 metres out in front of the uprights, with Newtown leading 5-0. Ken Wilson dummying, and I thought for a moment he was going to run. In fact, he was, and that's not like Wilson, and he often catches his opponents off guard by running himself. Last tackle for the Jets, Lance stepping off the right foot, taking it to ground, and Canterbury have survived that set of 6 tackles. Ted, what did you say to the boys at quarter time with that territorial advantage that Newtown had? The scrum possession was going their way at the rate of 2-1.
Yes, well, the thing I was concerned about is that Newtown's defence is standing up very flat and also coming up very quickly. We were making very little yardage. What I said to them at the quarter time was we've got to organise our defence. I think that's the first penalty of the match. Ted
Glossop, you're quite right. 32 minutes of rugby league without a penalty.
Yes, well, that's the first time the referee has deemed it necessary to penalise the side.
Just continue on with what you said at quarter time, Ted. I was quite interested to know what you did say.
Well, Newtown's pattern of play, they turn the ball back inside from Kenny Wilson quite a lot, and I'm concerned that we hold the centre of the ruck, which we've done quite well up to this stage. The try they've scored was Sigsworth up off the blind side of a scrum, and it just came out of the blue, really. But I told them we had to hold our defence line, and when we did have the ball, we're playing a particular pattern here in these first 2 quarters against the Breeze, and I just didn't want to give the ball back to them, and where necessary, it's very difficult with the wind upstairs as it is to try and just put the ball out of our 25, and they've stuck with that very well.
All right, so you won't be unduly dissatisfied with a 7-0 deficit at half-time?
I'd naturally prefer to be at our way, but it's 7-0 at half-time. No, that'll do me.
You can't have it both ways, Ted, can you?
No.
Thanks for talking to me.
Right, all right.
Always a pleasure to talk to Ted Glossop. As Ken Wilson moves up, strikes it, and he's picked up a further 2 points for the Jets. They lead by 7 points to 0, and that might be some kind of a record. I might be wrong. But 32 minutes of rugby league in first-grade football went by without a penalty. That should send, I would think, the George Crawfords and company looking for their record books. So Baker restarting. Incidentally, the 2 teams in the elimination zone because of their losing margins in the first qualifying round are Queensland Country on -16 and Illawarra on -27. And the only matches that can change that picture are tonight, where one of these teams would have to lose by more than 16, and on May 26, when NSW Country or Cronulla would have to lose by a greater margin. Just on the Canterbury side of that line, which is the halfway line, giving Hughes the scrum feed. Baker. Oh, don't tell me they've lost it on the first tackle. They have. So that's tit for tat. Ian Lloyd now. That's Steve Mullen. Incidentally, next Wednesday night, we'll see Manly play North Sydney. The following Wednesday, we'll see Penrith play South Sydney. The reason being that the last qualifying round match between New South Wales Country and Cronulla Sutherland is a match that cannot be scheduled until the Wednesday following the annual City Country match on Wednesday, May 26. Or should I say, that is the date of the Wednesday when it can be played. So we've got 2 second round matches coming up in the next fortnight. Manly and Norths next Wednesday, Penrith and Souths the Wednesday after, and then we go back to a first qualifying round match, New South Wales Country and Cronulla. Goodness gracious. We are inside the Newtown 22. Sigsworth. Ryan, Sigsworth.
Actually, Newtown are playing very ordinary at the moment. They started off greatly enough, but they are being contained now by Canterbury, and maybe their forwards are slowing down a little bit, or at least taking it a little bit easy. Maybe they feel that this is just a matter of going through the motions.
I'll tell you what Ted Glossop did say that surprised me, Keith, was his comment about the wind.
Yes, it doesn't appear as if there's any from up here, does it? The flags are very still.
Yeah, well, we'll get a shot of those flags on top of the uprights in just a second, but that's normally our guide when we talk about wind and wind drafts and velocity. But it doesn't seem windy from sitting up here, and Ted has rather surprised me, because that's probably one of the first things I talk about is whether there's a wind advantage, but that shot sort of emphasizes the way we're seeing it. So the way he spoke, there could be a different game plan in the second or should I say in the third and fourth quarter. Here's Donahue chipping through or grub kicking through, and it's Newtown back in possession, but with their backs to their own line, basically 10 metres out. This is Wayne Ewing. Les Motto watching this match with a great deal of interest, he being a very avid Newtown man. Whereas, of course, their trainer last year, he's in Prince of Wales Hospital, waiting to undergo an operation tomorrow. From all the boys, Les, they hope it's successful, and that you're back with the game you love so much very, very shortly. Wilson, O'Grady coming up, Sigsworth fast. Oh dear, that pass nearly knocked his head off. Steve Mullen turning the bench into attack. It was a ridiculously hard pass. It hit Sigsworth under the chin, and you'd swear blind he'd been hit by Larry Holmes. Now it's been knocked down by Newtown, and Anderson knocks on. Well, there was a perfect opportunity for Canterbury there. Had Anderson have picked that ball up cleanly, he had 2 men outside him with only 1 defender. Newtown 7, Canterbury nothing. 2 minutes from half-time, and Canterbury have won the scrum. Mark Hughes, Neil Baker. Taken by Michael Pittman. 9 all, the scrums. Steve Blythe. 1-0. The penalties favouring Newtown. That's Pittman. Held by Battiri and Kasbarian. Newling, 10 metres out from the 22. Wilson, O'Grady on the blind. That's Pobji. Tackled by Chris Hughes, who's been getting across and making some good tackles. As Graham O'Grady pops it down for Standen, and then it's gone loose, and this is Canterbury's ball. Quickly swept away to Stephen Want. Held about 8 metres on his own side of the halfway, with the half-time siren almost upon us. Frico. Baker. That's not going to find touch. Mel Graham back in time. I'll be talking to Frank Hyde during our half-time break tonight about, well, what better to talk about than Frank Hyde himself. And, as I said earlier, an illustrious career. So there's the half-time siren. Newtown are leading Canterbury by 7 points to 0 at the break. From last week's boil-over at Tweed Heads, third quarter, second half. And Canterbury running with the breeze for the next 40 minutes. A breeze that we didn't think was all that significant, but people down on the sideline agree with Ted Glossop. There is some up there. So it could be that we're going to see a change about here, where in the first 40 minutes it was practically all played in Canterbury's half. 7-0 in favour of Newtown as we go into this third quarter, with Stephen Blythe now playing it inside his 22. Steve Bowden, and he'll play it 9 metres out from the quarter. Wilson. That's Craig Ellis, big lump of a lad. Played in the final series for Newtown in '81. Sigsworth burrowing his way through. So often do you see Newtown turning it back into the forwards, going up the centre. Wilson dropping back to the full-back position for the kick, knowing that Sigsworth was up in the play the ball. Armstrong replies with a torpedo punt that might...
Straight just talking about Newtown then, when they were looking for Wilson to clear the line. It was a similar situation to where we've found where attacking sides have been penalised for being inside the 5. There were at least 4 Newtown forwards there, up level with the chap playing the ball, moving up the field well before the person has even played the ball, as it's going back to Wilson.
You're talking about players being inside the 5 in attack?
Yes, certainly.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Funny thing, you know, last year we had a blitz on players being inside the 5 in attack. Whatever happened to it? Last tackle coming up for Newtown now. Wilson. Armstrong. Quite honestly, Keith, I hope they don't bring it back out of the cupboard myself. I thought it was quite a useless exercise.
Oh, I certainly agree when a team is in an attacking situation and they are attacking, but that's purely a defensive ploy and they're gaining plenty of yards.
Aha. That's the merit inside the comment. Baker. That's going to find it. Good kick by Neil Baker, finding it 28 metres out from the Newtown line. Incidentally, this weekend all the home clubs have something special for the mums as Canterbury pick up the second penalty in the match. Only the second penalty in the match coming at the 43rd minute. The other coming at the 32nd minute. Yes, the home clubs in Sydney this weekend will be providing a dinner for mum and dad. I guess a couple of kids will be thrown in at that particular club's leagues club. Just simply as a Mother's Day gesture. One lucky mum at each ground will win that prize this weekend. So it's Chris Hughes, now Baker, now Mortimer. Well, that must have been very close to a shepherd. This is Steve Want, and 6 more tackles, says referee John Gosher. Chris Hughes, Mark Hughes. Baker, Peter Mortimer. 5 tackles gone. Mark Hughes to the corner. He's picked up a player on the inside, Dennis Donahue, and he's gone around to make it almost certainly a 5-pointer. The young Bulldogs have struck back. 7 points to 3 with an easy kick coming. Mark Hughes now. He got rid of John Standen and then gave a perfect pass on the inside for Dennis Donahue, who certainly had no second thoughts about going around to make it easier for his goal kicker.
No, that certainly brought a new light on the game, hasn't it, with Canterbury. Very, very slow there to cover Mark Hughes. And
they stood off him, really.
They certainly did. They were looking for him to play the ball out wide to Chris Anderson, and of course he saw the opportunity, accelerated through the gap and turned it back inside to Donahue. And that's the injection that Canterbury needed. And maybe we have got a game on our hands, because Newtown, after a very promising start, have certainly played slipshod football to my mind. They've been very negative, and they've been intent to go through the motions, basically, aiming to win the game with as little effort as possible. Canterbury, on the other hand, they've got an enthusiastic bunch of youngsters, and now trailing 7 points to 5, they probably give themselves a real opportunity of winning the game, particularly as Teddy Glossop said, that they have the advantage of a good breeze down there on the ground, which we can't really see from up here.
So Armstrong, who converted the Donahue try, plays it outside the 22. And now they're running with a hell of a lot of gusto, Canterbury. Their number 16, John Kasparian, making a good bust. Chris Hughes. Ken Wilson is down injured for Newtown. Canterbury down by 2. Playing with a patched up side. Baker, Hughes, Donahue running out in the centres and running boldly. Taking play inside the Newtown 22. That's Ian Lloyd. Now Baker. Off a Newtown player. He's regained the ball himself. And this scrum is going down midway between the 22 and the halfway on the Newtown end of the ground. Well, Warren Ryan, the Newtown coach, has indicated that he's prepared to talk with us, and we'll do that in just a few moments. Incidentally, the Tooth Country Rugby League Tour. Let me give you the venues for those matches. The Country Rugby League rep side, sponsored by Tooth and Company. They'll play this Saturday at 3 o'clock at Harker Oval, New Lambton, against Newcastle. Then today week they play at 7:30 under the lights at Tweed Heads against Northern Rivers Division. And on Sunday week they play at Eric Weisel Oval, Wagga, against Riverina, the country champions. That dossier on their whereabouts from Warwick Davis, the sports promotions manager for Tooth's Crew. Newtown in possession, so now is as good a time as any. I'm sure it will be, as Michael Pittman sends Michael Ryan into a big gap. He's run out of support. Nobody there. Now there is. Mel Graham's up in the attack. Put down 11 metres out, but he's knocked on. And a scrum will go down just out from the Canterbury line, with Canterbury sending a replacement into the match. Mark Bird going out. Warren at 7-0 at half-time. Were you totally satisfied?
Oh, you're never totally satisfied. I think perhaps the yardage or the territorial advantage we held could have possibly produced a little bit more, but I'll give Canterbury their due. They're very keen. They might have put a side on that's not their first grade side, but they do that regularly. If you look at their Tooth Cup performances or their KB Cup performances, they always put a lot of second graders on, but they're all good footballers and they're all very, very keen. Sometimes I think the blokes that get a go in first grade are keener than the blokes that are regularly there.
I know what you're saying. Here's O'Grady, only a metre from the line. We'll just hold that with Warren there for a second. Bowden's gone into dummy half. Wilson standing wide to the left, knocked down by a Canterbury player. 6 more tackles, 6 metres out. And this is going to be a whole heap of pressure for Canterbury. With 5 more tackles, the Jets, with Bowden taking it up. Only a couple of metres out. Wilson wants it now. That's him. This is Dean Lance. A short pop of a pass to Michael Pittman. 2 metres from the line. I thought he might have made the break there. Wayne Newling is tackled. Tackled number 5. Back to Wilson. Lance with it now. But Canterbury have withstood the Newtown challenge, and this scrum will go down 15 out from the Canterbury line. Yes, that's an interesting subject, Warren. You do get a hell of a lot of enthusiasm, I would think, from a bunch of kids, if you like, when you bring them up to replace the first graders.
Yes, Ray, they're not kids, they're grade footballers. Canterbury got a very good first grade side, and they've got some very good people to replace their injuries.
Ken Wilson this year, Warren, you've had him in and out of the first grade side. What has been the main reason? Has it been that he just hasn't been as good as the regular half, or somebody did say something about fitness to me?
No, the team selected on form, simple as that. Ken's form wasn't as good as it had been, and that's the reason. He was recalled to the side after a pretty good performance in the reserves.
So Newtown leading 7-5 as we thank Warren Ryan again for joining us during our commentary on tonight's KB Cup.
Gee, that's a surprising change. Mark Hughes coming off.
Mark Hughes replaced by Mark Bird. He looked all right too, Keith. It didn't look as though he was injured.
No, it didn't.
So that leaves Canterbury was really only probably 3 faces that we've grown accustomed to. Oh, a mistake by Canterbury, and now they've bombed it, Newtown. Dean Lance was into the open. Michael Pobji only had to catch and fall. Here's the incident. A Canterbury mistake. Dean Lance swept upon it. Neil Baker made the try-saving tackle, because really what happened, he forced Lance to pass. Michael Pobji couldn't take it, and almost certainly Canterbury off the hook to fight another day. Down by 2 points. Mark Bird with a bustling run 10 metres short of halfway. Now, this will find touch. 10 metres out from the Newtown 22.
Yes, and certainly young Baker is utilising this piece, which Teddy Glossop advised us of earlier in the first half, and certainly gaining good yardage, and there's a lot more confidence now in this Canterbury side, and Newtown are really struggling. Certainly they could have wrapped the game up there if Podgy had have taken that pass, but it was only some loose play from Canterbury that enabled Newtown to breach their defence, and certainly it's been, to my mind anyhow, a particularly disappointing effort from a side that made last year's grand final, and a side that contains 4 of the pack from last year's grand final.
So Chris Anderson taking the line kick, and the tap will be taken about 12 metres out from the Newtown line. Casbarian, 10 out. The chant is for the Bulldogs. Hughes, Baker, 5 out. Canterbury are fanned out very deep on the left. They've gone right. Dennis Donahue popping it down for Chris Anderson. Getting it back now for Glenn Mortimer, who came on to replace Mark Hughes. Mark Bird is on for Steve Mullen. Chris Hughes, Baker tries to split them. Newtown's ball. Yes, the fourth of the Magic Mortimers is out there. He made that tackle in number 15, the younger of the brothers, Glenn, playing at lock. Played Shield football quite a few years ago now, and I think came to Canterbury as a half 5'8". That penalty is only the 5th in the match. Newtown 3, Canterbury 2, the penalties. Scrums are 10-10.
And it's ironical, of course, that referee Gaucher caught Canterbury for being inside the 5 yards. Certainly enthusiastic at this stage and eager to get into the Newtown side, but whereas conversely, Newtown, they've been standing very flat all night.
So let's have a look through this Canterbury side now with Mark Hughes replaced. Tony Armstrong, yes, we've seen him play top grade quite often. Chris Anderson is a veteran. If he wasn't before tonight, he suddenly became one. Peter Mortimer, and that's where you draw the line now. 3 only. Mike Pittman's knocked on, so there's been a good deal of scrappy play in this match, and Newtown certainly has contributed just as greatly as Canterbury to the voluntary errors. 7-5, Newtown leading, 4 minutes out from the 3-quarter break. Differential to Newtown. Wilson finding touch. Only about 15 metres from the Canterbury line. Now, thanks to the people at Tweed Heads who looked after us last Wednesday, as Bowden goes ahead, 5 metres out from the line. Wilson, 15 is Craig Ellis. Sigsworth looking for his second. He almost was through. Wilson. This is a chance. Standen. Yes, it's a try. Beautiful pass by Ken Wilson, putting John Standen into the left-hand corner. See it again. Wilson dummied and then threw this gigantic pass which found the winger unmarked, and that could well be the try that will see Newtown take the 2 points in this match tonight. They lead 10-5. It's not over as yet, that's for sure, but that pass from Ken Wilson has gone a long way to contributing, I would think, to a Newtown victory. A lot of people are of the belief that when Ken Wilson is in that Newtown side and firing, Newtown are firing. And that's him down there on the bottom of your screen, placing the ball to attempt conversion of the John Standen try. So 15 points have been scored by these two sides in 120 minutes of football. They played a 0-0 draw in the first round of the Premiership. A 0-0 draw at Henson Park about 4 or 5 weeks back now, making rugby league history. I'm almost certain they have figured in another history-making feat here tonight with no penalties after 32 minutes. Wilson now, he's just as likely to kick this as he is to kick one from right in front. He's kept it low, but it's gone away at the final moments. And 10 points to 5 remains the scoreline in favour of the Jets over the Bulldogs. 10-all the scrums, 4-2 the penalties to Newtown. 2 out of 3 to Ken Wilson now. I've had nothing but good reports about the recovery of National Panasonic's energy man, John McGuirk, who underwent that heart surgery about 10 days ago, and to you, John, from all of us here at the KB Cup, a very warm and sincere wish that your recovery is continuing along as you would want it to. Off the shoulder of Steve Blythe, recovered by Graham O'Grady. Keith Barnes to talk to Frank Hyde again at 3/4 time. Mike Ryan. Ken Wilson. Dean Lance. Our big game Saturday is Wests and Norths at North Sydney Oval. We'll show that in replay on Sunday morning in 10's World of League. We'll also have interviews during the morning with a lot of the league superstars. That's an incorrect feed by Ken Wilson, so we'll see Canterbury find the line and then put the bomb up. Neil Baker firing for as much as he can get, and so Chris Anderson comes across and gives it back to Baker for the bomb. There it goes, cross ground, they fly for it, it's down, and Newtown, I believe, have got the ball. So that's the end of that 20-minute sector. Newtown leading 10-5, and in this break Keith again will be talking with Frank Hyde, but prior to that, let's take a look at the prizes to be won from National Panasonic and Electronic Sales and Rentals for the man voted as tonight's man of the match here at this first qualifying round match between Canterbury and Newtown. Newtown leading 10 points to 5, and it's certainly a long way from over.
Les Mara on for Newtown, Ray.
Former Balmain Tiger, who I'm told almost wandered into Newtown training one night and said, is there any chance of getting a run here? And they simply told him that if he got himself fit and proved that he was up to grade, there was every chance. Les is playing in jumper number 4, by the way. In fact, I think he's a state player, Les Mara, isn't he?
Yes, he represented the state, yes.
Wayne Newling now, 3 metres on the Newtown side of halfway. Ken Wilson, there's the plan. He made no attempt to find touch. Simply get it down there and play it in their quarter.
as was suggested at three-quarter time by our experts Keith Barnes and Frank Hyde. In fact, Keith went a step further in suggesting that he doesn't even think Newtown will try to score in the final quarter.
Well, I don't think they'll attempt to take any risks, certainly. And
do they ever?
No, probably not. But Sigsworth, of course, after a great start, hasn't injected himself into the play too much, and possession of the ball is vital. But I think you'll find that Newtown will play it much more through the forwards now than even they have for the first three quarters of the game.
O'Grady. In fact, Phil Sigsworth's girlfriend, Julia Shepard, is a pleasant breath of fresh air on our world of rugby league of a Sunday morning. Always tips Newtown and always says nice things about Phil, but she's got a lot more going for her than some of us. I can give you the tip. Dean Lance. Wilson again. Well, he's found touch. I think if I can describe it this way, with that kick, he bet each way. He doesn't, I don't think he really cares whether he finds touch or not. He was just aiming to put it down inside the Canterbury 22. 10-5, Newtown in front, with 18 to go.
And I suppose they'll get themselves into a position, and they should be looking for a field goal now, which would certainly wrap up the game.
Ooh. 15 is Glenn Mortimer. 16 is John Casberian. Oh dear, that's a case of over-anxiety. Put down by Glenn Mortimer. And so often tonight we've seen Canterbury on an early tackle, frittering away possession and putting pressure on themselves. There's an arm in that scrum. It's a Canterbury arm too. So a differential to Newtown. So we can keep our eyes open for a drop goal attempt. Wilson is out there doing plenty of talking, a lot of talking, Ken Wilson, to various players. Bowden, 2 metres out. Blythe will have a run. He's run as the foil. Wilson sweeping it across to Sigsworth. Bowden. Oh, popped up there for Michael Ryan. And Newtown now seemingly with the seal on the match at 13 points to 5.
And he was very close to the goalpost there, Ryan, wasn't he? And was sort of quick thinking that he was able to just miss it. But watch the pass here. As Ryan takes it, he's heading for the goalpost. And then does a quick shuffle, doesn't he?
The things that happen on the way to the forum. Have a look at this. This was a great pass by Bowden. In fact, he must have been very close to the ground. You'll see it perfect on the head-on shot because we're almost in there with Steve Bowden. Here he is, bulldogging through. Oh, it's a fair pass. It's a good pass. And then Mike Ryan says, whoops. And there's the three-pointer. Well, that's the ball game, I would suggest, without professing to be a Rhodes Scholar. 13-5, and it'll be 15-5. Second qualifying round opponents for these two clubs. Canterbury plays Cronulla, and Newtown plays Queensland Country.
I think Queensland Country are one of the teams that's on the borderline, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. 16 points. 15 points to 5. Graham O'Grady takes it back. (5-3) penalties to Newtown. 11-10 scrums to Canterbury now. What do you think of this guy, Keith? Dean Lance, the number 6.
He's had quite a good game out there this evening, but Newtown, he hasn't had too many opportunities, has he? His defence has been quite good, and he's been reasonably constructive in attack. Of course, he's restricted because Newtown play much of their game around their back row forwards and Kenny Wilson. And obviously his opportunities are going to be linking up outside runners like Pittman and Blythe. But he's had a solid enough game out there this evening.
Well, Lesmar has gone now to 5/8. Lance in the centres with Ryan. Or is Mara playing lock? Yes. Mara's playing at lock, it would seem, for the purposes of the naming of a position. Bowden. Ellis. Mike Pittman is off the field for Newtown. That's something I forgot to tell you. Replaced by Liz Mara. Mike Ryan's pass is beauty to Michael Pogsy. And that's Sigsworth on the inside. The ever-present Mr. Sigsworth. Wilson, O'Grady. They need a long ball. They need a quick ball. But Stephen Blythe wasn't aware of the fact that he had a two-man overlap, unmarked on his left. Scrum going down in midfield, just inside the 22 line. Canterbury's end, 15-5 to the Jets. A reminder that next week we see the first of the second qualifying round matches. This man is Dean Lance, a strong run, taking play within 9 metres. Bowden getting involved. Craig Ellis. Wilson. Graham. Flicking it back. That's a great pass. It's a fair try. Ken Wilson has scored. You see it again. Mel Graham was not held in the tackle. And from the ground, he's flicked the ball up. And Ken Wilson has said thank you. Goodness gracious, was that a bit of quick thinking, or what was it? See it on the head-on. This boy from the country, Mel Graham, first of all, comes from the right flank inside Wilson and is grasped but not held. Watch it now. He couldn't have known that he was there, sure.
No, unless Wilson called for it, of course, and then they took the calculated gamble. But obviously, this is the type of form now that Newtown must have shown last weekend when they put the cleaners through Illawarra. They started off in this particular vein, then they went to sleep in the second and third quarters for mine, and of course that try that they scored early in the final quarter certainly set them alight again.
But haven't we seen two magnificent passes to score those 2 tries in the final?
Oh yes,
quarter,
certainly,
indicating that Newtown can do it with as many frills as the best of them.
Of course they can, but they're content for most of the game to play around a pack of forwards that to my mind anyhow had the advantage over this makeshift Canterbury combination, and I didn't think the drive was in their forwards, but there's been a bit more drive from the likes of Bowden and Blythe in this final quarter. I thought Pittman was their best player, and he hasn't come out for the final 20 minutes.
So Wilson straight on line. Newtown leading by 20 points to 5 now. 20 points to 5. Wilson has kicked 4 out of 5. The cheer girls are happy.
And now I suppose you're looking at a position that Canterbury are pretty vulnerable now for this next clash, next round clash.
Well, that's right.
They're
yeah.
15 points.
Of course, the KB Cup is almost on a promotion and relegation system these days, with 2 teams saying goodbye at the end of the first qualifying round, and Canterbury are perilously close to being one of those 2 sides, and Sigsworth is out to try and get rid of them forever, so it would seem. The bad news is that Ken Wilson is down in pain in the back play. 4 tries to Newtown now. Sigsworth, Standen, Ryan and Wilson. And Wilson has kicked 4 out of 5, so he's got a personal tally of 11 in the match. He's having a nice old few days, Ken Wilson. What did he score against Illawarra? 24 against them out of, what, 54? Or 51? And he's picked up Sigsworth, who, if he hadn't have lost his footing, was going to be very hard to stop. Sigsworth playing it to Mara. Now to Wilson. O'Grady cut out. 17. Running with the ball for Newtown. Picking up Michael Ryan. A flick pass for Mal Graham, who's held on the 22 line. Mark O'Brien is on for Newtown. Bowden's put it behind him. Play on, says referee John Gosha. Players on the Canterbury 22. 20 points to 5. Newtown breezing on now to almost certainly a quarter-final berth in the KB Cup.
Yes, Ryan, I have to agree with your comments that that Newtown certainly have the ability in attack and to play the type of football that we see now in this final 20 minutes. It's just taken them 40 minutes to come alive.
Mark Bugden is on for Newtown. That's him standing next to Graham O'Grady. Is Mark a brother of Jeff Bugden, who's gone to Parramatta? Right. So there's been plenty of changes made. This is Craig Ellis. The bomb from Wilson. O'Brien, to my way of thinking, is offside. And it's Steve Blythe who's tackled a metre out. A Canterbury player down injured in the back play. Ken Wilson swarmed over by the Bulldogs. Mara to O'Grady. A quick ball to Ryan. Mal Graham had to go back for it. Canterbury player I'm telling you about called for a replacement. O'Grady tackled 15 metres out. And in fact they've called for a stretcher. Wilson, a drop goal just to rub salt into injury. And it's successful, so 21 points to 5 now. Canterbury player is on his feet now. He refused the stretcher. It's Ian Lloyd, the hooker. 14 goes out. Paul Gearan. From behind, you'd swear blind it was Steve. Sigsworth coming out with it. That's Lance. (21-5). Newtown as safe as a bank now. Bowden. Ryan. Sigsworth. O'Grady. Inside. Graham. And this is a magnificent Newtown try. PUBG goes in to score. Oh, that really was some classical stuff from the Jets.
Yes,
See it in complete replay.
It certainly was. It was a great try, and I had the audacity to turn around and say that I thought Newtown would go into their shell in the final quarter and really play a defensive game. Well, certainly the first try that they scored, but a great in-pass here from O'Grady. And then, of course, we see Podgy pick it up on the left-hand side of the field and certainly finish off what was a really great Newtown try.
Oh, yes. This is a great try. Watch it. Wilson. Sigsworth comes onto this pass from Mike Ryan after both he and O'Brien had handled. There's a little doubt about that pass to O'Grady, which I didn't bring up earlier. Neither did I bring up the possibility of a little bit of a forward pass from O'Grady on the inside to Mal Graham before it went to Pobji for the try. The point being that the defence was completely shattered by a team making the ball do the work. And sure, there may be just that little area of doubt about a couple of the passes there, but looking on the positive side, it was a brilliant piece of football. I mean, we could take it apart with the video, I suppose, and prove to you that there was a forward pass, but at 21-5 and now 24-5, what good is that going to do? Wilson, beautiful kick, straight as an arrow, over the black and gold dot. And 26 points to 5 now. So Canterbury are in the danger zone. They're on 21. The other team that's in jeopardy is still Illawarra. Canterbury are on -21. That puts Queensland country into the second round, by the way, you people in Queensland. So particularly the Queensland country boys will be happy with this big defeat that Canterbury almost certainly are suffering. At least it assures you of a pleasant visit back to the Travelodge at Kangaroo Point. Which I'm sure if you read the papers during the week, Parramatta would term as a Taj Mahal. Ryan's pass in the touch. I think, Keith, what we have to stop and also put into the, or say, is that two of the creative men in that Newtown side, the two flankers, Ferguson and Blacklock, who we saw some fantastic things from in 81, aren't out there tonight. Not that it necessarily changes the pattern of their play, don't get me wrong, but with them in the side, I do think Newtown...
well, it certainly adds a lot more spark to the attack, doesn't it? Particularly because they like to feed off the forwards too. They inject themselves into the attack around the edges of the rucks, and of course they're likely to pop up anywhere. But this is the type of form that I was expecting from Newtown, and they certainly gave it in the opening 10 or 15 minutes. And then I thought they just went completely into a shell, and I'm sure that their coach Warren Ryan would be a lot happier now. He'll go home a lot happier man, because they must have played super football on Sunday to give Illawarra the whitewashing that they did. And they've certainly confirmed that form now with their performance in the final 20 minutes of this game here this evening.
Kick ahead, sees his brother chase, and Sigsworth is obliged to pick it up. It's an interesting kick by young Glenn Mortimer. It looked as though it was certainly going to go over the dead ball line, but it hit and stopped and forced Sigsworth to pick it up. A duty that I'm sure at this stage of the night he didn't want to have to perform.
He's played his game in patches, though, Sigsworth too, hasn't he?
Gearan playing it. Hughes, oh, that backfired. O'Grady with it. .6-5, Newtown leading. With Ken Wilson having scored half those points, he must certainly be a front runner for the Man of the Match award, jointly sponsored by National Panasonic and Electronic Sales and Rentals. There's the siren. Not going to have to wait very long to find out, are we? So Newtown 26, Canterbury 5. My thanks to Keith Barnes and to our special guest tonight, Frank Hyde. As we take this break, we'll be back with details for the Singapore Airlines Superstar and the National Panasonic Man of the Match Awards in just a moment.